This conference will now be
Yeah.
recorded.
Well, good morning, all. It's a damp day out there, so a good time to be sitting here. It's 9 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with our land acknowledgement. And Barbara, I believe it's your turn today, because I've got a list.
Ah, well, thank you, Mayor Woodbury. It's a pleasure. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabeg, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse peoples.
Thank you, Barbara. And so now we can move on to open forum. Was there anyone for open forum, Lindsay?
Yes, Mayor Woodbury. First on my list is Angela Lawton. I see her connected here. So Angela, if you want to start, and I may have a second person.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Angela.
Hi. I'll try and be brief. I want to thank Council for the opportunity to speak with you today and address my concerns. The topic I'm going to be discussing is the Varney Raceway. I also want to start out by thanking Bev Fisher and Bylaw because I read the report that they're submitting to Council today. And I also want to thank the track owner of the Speedway because it looks like he was very open to dialogue, and some of the issues that he mentioned he has already addressed, I'd like to tell you, have made a very big difference. I think on the list was no working muffler, or all cars must have working mufflers. That's great. No monster truck pulls this year. That is amazing. Racing being done by 11, and it's not on his list, but I will say they have significantly reduced the use of the loudspeaker, and they're not playing music on it. So these are massive improvements. So I really want to thank Bev for taking the time to go over and have that dialogue because I feel like it has made a very big difference. Yeah, it was great. Thank you to everyone. The other issue that I just wanted to put out before Council and Bev, because I know this is an ongoing process, is the hours of track operation, because that has changed significantly. Before I purchased my house 6 years ago, I researched the history of the track and I talked to long-term residents and I got the hours of operation. There was one practice evening, started around 5 or 6, went till dark. There was a race on Saturday. Warm-ups didn't start till 5 o'clock. Then they raced till about 11. On Sundays, sometimes there was a race if it was a long weekend. Again, if it was a race day, cars didn't start till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So that meant Saturday and Sunday afternoons were quiet. There also was very little activity on the track during the week that was really noticeable. Now with the new owner, I understand they're ramping up their business and they want to use it more, which I totally get. But now, especially as per Bev's report, cars are starting to practice at noon on Saturday on the day of racing. So that means we've got from 12 noon till 11 o'clock at night to potentially be listening to cars on a weekend. On Sundays, again, same thing. If it's race day, they're going to start at noon. But if it's not race day, they'll start engines at any time. I think there was a car on the track at 11 o'clock this Sunday. There was no race. So that means we potentially have, and then all during the week, they're sporadically running cars. So that's potentially 7 days a week, 12 hours, 11 hours, or if it's not a race day, potentially as long as it's daylight, we could be listening to vehicles. I'll put in there as well, some vehicles are very quiet. Whatever cars they raced this weekend were so quiet we could barely hear them. I don't have a problem if they're racing the quiet cars. Like really, and I live right behind the track. Really, the noise is not that bad. But there's other cars that they race that are very, very loud, and I can hear those in my house with the doors closed and the air conditioning on. So we never know what we're gonna get. I could have a background noise that I can't really tell if it's Highway 6 or not, or I could have squealing tires and a really loud car, and there's not really a schedule on that. So my point is, we've kind of gone from 2 evenings to possibly 3 evenings, and sometimes other things, but very rarely time, like a very part-time track that's now technically open 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. I don't think that is really reasonable as a resident. And like I said, the quiet cars I really don't mind, but the loud ones are very loud, and they don't run them all the time. I'm not saying they're running 12 hours a day. You might get a car at noon for 15 minutes, and then it's quiet, and then at 3:30 some more cars will race. But it also makes it very difficult for me to kind of count on quiet in my backyard. How am I going to plan a family barbecue when when I know I'm not going to be able to listen to cars? Anyway, we have a 50-year precedent with this track of running part-time. And I don't know, it's a tough call for a business owner to just unilaterally decide that they're going to change those hours of operation without discussing it with the residents or township or anything like that. So I'm asking council and bylaw perhaps if they could maybe address this issue of hours of operation and maybe set some hours. I'd like to keep the track part-time. I may not get what I want. I understand there's a balance, but it has been part-time for the past 50 years. And I'd like it would give the residents some guarantee of quiet time, both on weekends and during the week, when you just know there's not going to be any activity. It will be quiet. I'm hoping bylaw can work with the track owner to come up with a schedule. I think that would be good. Then at least we know what's going on and we can plan around that. Another option, like maybe you could have a couple afternoons a week that are practice or lessons or whatever. And maybe on race days, could we start the practice laps around 5 o'clock so that Saturday afternoons is free for the residents to be quiet? Maybe on Sunday, when there's no race, there's no practice. You get one day a weekend where there's quiet. Another option is, and I don't know anything about cars, but could you muffle the really noisy cars more? Because the really quiet cars aren't that loud. Like I really don't have a huge problem with that. Like I said, the race this weekend was great. It was really quiet. I spoke to a couple neighbors and they said this was like the quietest weekend they can remember at the track in a while. So I think we're on a really good path, and I'm really thankful that you guys are taking this seriously. I would just like to throw it out there that perhaps one of the next pieces of the puzzle or a topic of conversation could just be setting some hours so that residents can kind of schedule when we can have our outdoor time. And that's it. Again, I don't want you to think by me bringing this up that I am not appreciative. I don't want the track owner to think that we are not appreciative of the changes he has made because they are huge. I am very appreciative also of Bev for putting in all of the hard work on this because we had an improvement already, and I'm so thankful for that. And thank you all for letting me speak.
Well, thank you, Angela. And yeah, that's what this is for you to get things out like that. And we've taken note. And yep, I've seen the owner as well, and he is very cooperative. So thank you very much.
It makes me really happy, and I hope we can just. Oh.
There,
okay.
Mayor Woodbury, there might be John Woon. He had signed up this morning. I'm not sure if he received my email back, but John, if you're on the line, you can go ahead.
Yep, go ahead, John. Are you there, John? No, it doesn't appear.
Okay. He must not have got the email then. He was okay too with Angela.
Hey, Lindsay, I am here, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that John?
No, it's Michael.
Oh, Michael. Okay. Mike Shearson's here.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Michael. So I don't hear John here at all. Was there anyone else for open forum?
No, that was it, Mayor Woodbury.
Okay, and I see a couple of callers here. Is anyone for open forum there? Not hearing anything. We shall move on to confirmation of the agenda. And I have that moved by Jim and seconded by Martin. And is that as amended, Lindsay, or just the agenda?
Just the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, anyone opposed? Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest can declare now or at any time through the meeting. And we have a
I have one,
public
John.
meeting. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I have a pecuniary interest, potential pecuniary interest in agenda item 10.4.2, report CAO 2022-026, and I have forwarded the appropriate paper to the clerk.
Okay. Well, you're ahead of the game then.
Well, it's a rare event, but yes, it would appear so.
Okay. So we have a public meeting, and this is let me just read this here. Making an oral or written submissions, any person or public body is entitled to attend the public meeting and make written or oral submissions in support or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Persons wishing to make an oral submission to council at the public meeting are invited to register with the clerk. Written comments should also be addressed to the clerk. Please note that all submissions and personal information contained therein become part of the public record in their entirety and may be posted on the website. And it's your right to appeal the decision if the person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed. The person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council of the township of Southgate to the local planning board. If a person or public body does make oral submission at the public meeting or written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body may not be added to as a party of the hearing of appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there's reasonable grounds to do so. So this is Marlborough's construction, concession 3, lots 191 and 192, geographic township of Croton. Civic address 280092, Artemisia, Southgate Town Line. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to add a retail shop use to the list of permitted uses to supply local farms and on-farm shops with needed supplies. The owners wish to add the retail use to the list of permitted uses for agricultural exception A2-489 zone. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to add the retail use to the existing zoning. I need more coffee. Bylaw amendment, and that would be existing zoning exception. The zone boundary and symbol for the A2-489 zone will remain the same. Made it. Can I have confirmation that the notice was posted?
Yes, Mayor Woodbury, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Okay, and Clint, I'll turn that over to you for comments.
Morning, everyone, and thank you, Chair Woodbury. So this was a recirculation of a previous application where we it's not the shop so much that which was already approved. It's the addition of a retail use to sell belts and other farm-related equipment to the other farms in the area. So that is the additional use, if you will, which still falls within the on-farm diversified use definitions. So the first one we have is from Public Works. They have indicated that the safe access can be provided, and it's a rural gravel standard, and a commercial entrance has already been installed. The historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or concern. The County of Grey indicates that their Schedule C indicates a portion of the lands are a core natural heritage area, and the proposed development is situated outside of that area, and therefore there are no concerns. There's also a stream and significant woodlands on the site, and they are suggesting comments from the Conservation Authority be received. The Conservation Authority submitted initial comments for the initial public meeting and forwarded additional comments for this one, indicating that they have no additional comments and their previous comments stand, which were that it's acceptable to the SVCA staff. And I believe that's all of the comments from the agencies, and I've received no comments from members of the public.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Are there any questions or comments from council at this time? Barbara?
Thank you. Through you, Chair Woodbury. Hi, Clinton. Just a quick question, 2 quick questions. Will the retail change the taxation from industrial to commercial, a portion of it, or will it just remain industrial? And what is the additional traffic anticipated from the neighboring farms and on-farm diversified use farms? Neighboring shops oftentimes go from farm to farm using skid steers and things, and I'm just curious as to what additional traffic that's going to entail.
Okay. So your first question, it's my understanding the commercial and industrial rates are the same in the township. Perhaps Liam can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding that they're the same. So therefore there would be no change in tax rate. With respect to additional increases, there will be a little. It's certainly not going to be big truck increases with huge trucks coming in. It's more of a farmer needs a spare part and he goes to this shop as opposed to having to go a longer distance to get something similar. So that's the nature. So if you had to estimate it, it's maybe an additional 2 or 3 people coming to visit a day, sort of thing, over the course of a day. Not in trucks, in buggies or whatever, cars.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think it's always good if you don't have to travel long distances for that spare part, gets their tractors back on and other machinery operational that much quicker. So just curious. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Barb. Anyone else? Okay.
Just
Yep,
a
Martin,
comment.
go ahead.
Just a comment. Of driving around, going to work, I've seen some trucks from down Wallenstein way. There's a co-op that comes up and delivers stuff to some of the Mennonites. So we might see a lot more of these little retail shops just because of that fact that they are sending stuff up. So it's not a bad idea for the farmers around here. As I say, we don't want to price of gas these days and everything. I think it's a good idea. And if it doesn't change the commercial or industrial rating, why not? So just a comment.
Thank you. Yep, thanks. Okay, not seeing any others. I'll ask if the agent or applicant is present, and if you are, you can identify yourself, and if there's something you'd like to say, you could go ahead.
Chair Woodbury, he did text me, but he was trying to get in and he was having difficulty getting into the meeting, unfortunately. But
Okay.
indicate that he was trying.
Yeah, okay. Did he text you any other information that he wanted said?
No, he didn't.
No, just okay. Okay, thank you. Well, if he gets in before the end of the meeting, we'll have him, if he wants to say something, he can. We'll start now. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak in favor of this, again, mention your name and address, and then go ahead. Not hearing any. If there's anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this. Okay. Have any council thought of more questions or comments? And that doesn't look like it. And so that I will adjourn the public meeting portion of this for that planning issue. So thank you, everyone. Next up, we have a motion to receive the delegation from ratepayer James Taffy. James, are you here?
I am Mayor Woodbury. It's James Taft. Good morning, Council.
Okay, good morning. Just wanted to mention a couple of things that's thank you for coming in as a delegation, as is your right, and we always look forward to input from the public.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, though, that because you have 2 legal proceedings going now and notified us of a third, it protects both you and us to not discuss those. And
yeah, agreed.
Okay, that's great. And if we can just keep this to a calm, good discussion, then we'll be doing fine. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Woodbury. Yeah, no, I all fully agreed, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead now.
Oh, okay. Lindsay, I did just want to confirm how many minutes I have on the agenda. 10 would be fine, but I don't even think I'll need that, honestly. So as long as we're okay on time, I'll proceed.
Yeah, delegations are permitted 10 minutes, Mr. Taft.
Excellent. Okay, very good. No, I've just got a couple of questions, and I've made you all aware of what the main issue I have is just why has there been no communication about the McGraw decision from last October by council to the constituents?
There was the court made a decision, and we did not appeal it, and followed what the court said, and that was all public.
Okay, so you're maintaining that the court public record, that the making of that law was sufficient notice. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Mayor?
Well, we're saying that was public, and we came out of closed meeting and discussed or talked in public that we would not appeal. So yeah.
Okay. So no, so I think I understand your position. You believe that the public was aware of that enough, and then it didn't need to be said anymore. And honestly, maybe you made a decision on discretion, which I wouldn't fault you for. That's not something we want to talk about a lot. So I'm happy with that answer. Thank you.
Okay.
So the only other question I had then is when that decision came down, why did council not execute our bylaw, policy 10, section F, rule 10, the ethics bylaw? Why was that not executed at that time against the CAO of our corporation, please?
Well, I don't have that bylaw in front of me right now to read what that says. And council had thorough discussions, and we made decisions on the facts that we had.
Okay, so council is happy with how that sits right now, and if the answer is yes, I think we're done, because yeah, that was really the only questions I had. So what I'm hearing is that yes, we've handled the communication piece okay, and yes, we have managed the outcomes of the trial. Okay, is that a proper summary, Mr. Woodbury?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much to council. That's all the time I had. I know you guys have a lot on your agenda today, so. Ms. Green, thank you very much for the time today. I appreciate it, and the service as always has been excellent. Have a great day, council, Mr. Mayor. I truly do appreciate the opportunity to speak in my legislature. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion before us. Does any further discussion on that? Is anyone opposed to the motion? Okay, that is carried. Next, we have adoption of the minutes, and that is moved by Michael, seconded by Martin. And that's the minutes from May 18th and the 25th. Any discussion on those minutes? Not seeing any. Is anyone opposed to that motion? And that is carried. Moved by Barb and seconded by Jason. And this is Kevin's report on Memorial Park and Pavilion. Welcome, Kevin. Was there any more you'd like to add to that?
No, it's just accepting a tender that was put in for the project that we previously approved.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Okay. Okay, Martin, I can see the hand slowly coming up there, so go ahead, Martin.
It's kind of dark in here, I know. Good morning, Kevin. You only got one. Is it one tender quote? Is it because of the complexity of what's going to happen with the pool, or Don was just the only one interested, just because?
I'd say two reasons. Yes, with the complexity of what the project is, but secondly, too, is the time frame, the grant or the funding that we possibly are getting for this project. There's no extension beyond January 31st, so there's not too many builders that are large enough to be able to drop what they're doing to take on this project. So I assume that's more the latter than the first, but both are good answers.
Yeah, that makes actual sense. So, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any others. Anyone opposed to the motion? And that is carried. Thanks, Kevin. Next up, we have Liam, and that's the Wellington County Library Board Agreement, moved by Martin, seconded by Jim. Hi, Liam. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Anything you want to add?
I think the report speaks for itself, so I'll just take questions.
Like those reports. Let's see if there are any. Anyone have any questions or comments? Brian.
Thank you, John. Liam, I note that 2022, at least so far, is a high watermark for a number of households using the library. Would you think that it was attributed to the increase in population, or is there a greater percentage of the population that are using the library? You know, maybe because of the pandemic or something such like that.
Well, I did notice it's 286, but I noticed in 2020 it was 280. So I'm thinking that maybe 2021 was a lower year because of COVID, but that's only my assumption. I don't really know.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see. Nonetheless, the number of people using the library. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't mind paying for something like that people are using. Martin. And you win the award for the first one that has a really good discussion on mute.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
I was going to say no, but yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning, Liam. The amount per household, that doesn't have cost of living on it. That's just a straight fee, right?
That's correct. It's been $120 since 2013 per household.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing anyone else with their hand up. Is anyone opposed to this motion? And that would be carried. And next up is the bylaw, and that is moved by Brian and seconded by Michael. Any discussion on the bylaw? Okay, I'll get you to do the vote, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called for bylaw 2022-075 to authorize the library services agreement with Wellington County. Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury?
Yes.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Thank you, and thanks, Liam. Next, we move on to Jim's report. 10.3.1, moved by Jason, seconded by Jim, and that's the Melancthon Southgate Boundary Road Agreement. So good morning, Jim.
Morning, good people. This is similar to our other boundary road agreements. Melanchthon had taken this to their solicitor for review, and there was a couple back and forth, a little bit minor, but anyhow, it was satisfied, and here it is before you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Questions or comments? Okay, sounds good. You did good with those questions, Jim. Is anyone opposed to this motion? And that is carried. Bylaw to go with it is moved by Barbara, seconded by Michael. Any discussion on the bylaw? Well, I thought Brian was going to ask a question, but he had an itchy eye. Okay, Lindsay, it's all you.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called for bylaw 2022-077, the boundary road agreement with Melanchthon. Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen,
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Councillor Shearson,
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury,
Yes.
Councillor Frew,
Yes.
by a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Thank you. And thanks, Jim. Next, we move on to Dave's report. Moved by Martin, seconded by Barbara, and this is the Holstein Dam engineering update, costs and proposal. Up early for you at West, Dave, so we'll let you go right now.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just traveling right now, but this report was kind of a tag team between Jim and I, and I'll maybe let him speak to it. He's been busy on the roads doing a lot of stuff, so I support him on this report and we put it out there together.
Okay, thanks. Jim, did you want to add anything about this report?
Just that I think we should look for some funding opportunities to look into getting this work done at some point in time. It's a two-step process as outlined. And again, it made me think when I read the report about raising the bridge about that comment that I had from the OWWA conference where it was about how they were going to build this bridge and to mitigate the resiliency of the floodwaters. And they said build it 11 feet higher, but then 20 miles out on each side would be flooded. So anyhow, raising it a foot obviously is benefit for that debris and extra overflow, but I think the real part is keeping the other points with the securing of the embankments and that overland overflow if it ever gets to that high of a tide to come over, that mitigation process happens. So look for funding opportunities is what I would suggest.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think you'll see quite a shift from the 2004 reports to this report in that, because I was a bit surprised when I read it, but I think this is a solution that's a balancing act between managing upstream and downstream, where maybe the earlier reports didn't take that into account. The original solution in 2004 was going to create in the minds of the engineers today a problem upstream, and we don't want to do that either. So this is a way to, kind of manage those events and not protect the embankment, create that overland flow, as Jim said, and but again, balance both up and down.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? Martin.
Here we go. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Jim. Being a two-step project, the first one being 586 and the second one being 308, they go hand in hand. I didn't read anywhere where there's a time frame between the two projects. Like, would there be an allowance to get the first one done, then wait a year to get the other one, or 2 years? Like, it doesn't all have to be done in one go because it's over $1 million, right? Depending on the funding. So would there be a lapse between the two?
That would be correct according to the report.
Okay.
It could be done in separate phases. And, but I believe they are recommending that the first phase be the overland spillway.
Yeah.
That really is going to be to save the embankment. That's the most at risk point. And then raising the bridge would just give the opportunity for the reduce the amount of backup opportunity with limbs and branches that might come downstream in one of those major events. The other part of that is that I think this is a great fit for climate change resiliency type funding, and we will likely see a fair bit of that discussion out at the conference here.
Okay. Just a follow-up then with the grants, because we're tidying up the embankment, we're still going to have the walking trail. Could rec funds somewhere be applied in that too, or recreation grants?
Yeah, I don't think it would fit with recreation. It's more of a fit with managing, climate change. I think that's going to be a budget item of the future. You know, how we manage those side of things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other, Barbara?
Good morning, Dave. Thank you. Through you to Dave. Or to Jim, in the report, there was the full removal of the dam or replacement of the concrete spillway. Neither of these were included in the scope of the report. Is removal of the dam in its entirety even a concept we want to explore? Because I know there have been dams in the Saugeen watershed that have been removed in recent years.
So from my perspective and what I've read, and I'll give Jim an opportunity also, but I think that we would lose the pond, and I think that's a major feature. There's been nothing in the reports that have indicated that there's any breaching of the integrity from an engineering standpoint of the dam. So the dam is secure. It's just a matter of work around the dam to, create that opportunity for a greater distance between the top of the dam and the bottom of the walkway to allow material to get over the top of the dam rather than hold up water flow in one of those 100-year major events.
Thank you. And I agree. It is quite a gem and a tourism attraction for that pond, and the fishing derbies and things like that. I'd hate to see us lose that pond. I'm not surprised at the latest estimate, given an 18-year gap, and what I was interested in, that the assessment changed if the council of the day had proceeded to go with the repair, it could have created more damage or more hazards. So maybe it's a good thing we waited. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Jim?
I asked this question once before. I'll ask it again. Has BM Bruce taken into consideration
Sorry,
Any
Jim.
privilege? I didn't hear the question.
That's what I was, Jim, we couldn't quite hear you.
Has BM Ross taken into consideration the sluice?
When you say the sluice, like the downstream and the bypass, like the bypass through the old mill?
Yes.
So as I understand it, and I'm going to stand corrected here, maybe Jim knows more than I, but I believe that's been shut off. There's been no consideration for that. And I'm not sure, that's a great question, Jim, and I'm not sure whether that could be resurrected in some fashion.
There's water going over that now. And the timbers in there are in poor condition. If they let go, you're gonna drain the dam.
Maybe Jim, you and Jim and I, or Jim and you should meet maybe BM Ross and just, just point out what you're talking about and take a look at that. Okay, let's activate that maybe next week and get a hold of them.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Thanks, John. Dave, I wonder, a phone call to Mark Gates at the feed mill in Holstein probably would give you a lot of information. I understand that there was a little bit of work done to the sluice when they put that new shed up behind the mill there a couple of years ago. So I suspect they'll know a lot more about that than BM Ross might. So that might be your first phone call.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, have the motion before you. Is anyone opposed? And that would be carried. Thanks for what's going on with this. It's a great asset for all of our community, so it's good to keep it. Barbara?
Apologies, Mayor Woodbury. Did that resolution satisfy, Jim, did it satisfy? It says proceed with funding. We're directing staff, that's what we're directing them to do? Because it says to direct staff on how to proceed with funding options. And I'm not sure that, I think explore all options is kind of the direction. Is that sufficient to staff?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Woodbury.
Okay. Next, we have the 10.4.2, and that's moved by Barbara and seconded by Michael. And
I will declare
see you,
pecuniary
Brian.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And we'll give you a call. So Dave, I'll turn that to you.
You're muted, Dave.
I knew it would happen once. I'll turn it over to Jim because he's been heavily involved in this one.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so we were approached and by the proponent, and we went on site and walked through the area. There is some mutual benefit for ourselves as well. Again, this would be less intrusive on the road system and where it's situated for them coming out on the Road 26 with a haul route. So I would tend to be in favor of supporting this haul road internally. It wouldn't be an open public road. It would be a gated access and only for the use of the gravel extraction and plus any timber that could come out that way or whatever. But again, due to Road 26 and its hills and dips, this is a more better route to safely move this aggregate in the future.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Barbara and then Martin.
Through you to Jim, you said that this is an internal road for just the extraction portion of the gravel. Once the gravel is extracted, is it where is it heading? Is it heading over to Homestead, or is it being transported elsewhere? And what would the haul route be if it is?
I think the presumption is that it would come out onto basically where 41 meets Wilder Lake Road and head west on Wilder Lake Road, and then from there out to Highway 6 or out to 39, and then 39 south to 24 possibly, rather than go through Varney, but that hasn't been totally established yet. That would be part of the development of the pit.
Follow up?
Yep, go ahead.
Just because of the nature of Wilder Lake Road and the number of residents along there, the lower speed limit, I'm just, I'd be interested in the whole route for when the gravel is coming out and how that goes. You have to, you'll be determining the best course as well. Obviously, we don't want to send them out of their way, but we also want to make sure that it's respectful of everything if we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Martin, and you're not muted, so.
No, I'm not. I'm learning. A new computer, I told you. Anyway, this, I guess, is for you, Jim, since you walked the property. Looking at this report, I did the old pros and cons thing. There is so many pros in this. We're helping each other out. It's a private road. But the one thing in your report, it said, let me read it here, access to a gravel resource we never realized the township had on its property. And then the timber. Do you have an approximate, or has anybody gone out there giving an approximation of what and how much gravel there is on the township property? And is there a lot of good value timber to spend the money on cutting down? That's definitely going to benefit the township further on. Or is that in the process?
Yep, go ahead, Jim.
So prior to purchasing or in the negotiation of purchasing that 50-acre parcel adjacent to the landfill, we realized there is a lot of standing timber there that is going to be harvested in the near future. So we will get a payback out of that resource there. We did do an exploration of some test pits out on the west side towards 41. Those holes didn't reveal good material near the first 15 feet or so. So we are more dependent that there's maybe resource on the east side of the property as opposed to the west.
Okay.
And again, we have the landfill there, so we have to buffer a little bit from the landfill. But we did do that exploration and didn't think it was maybe viable to extract at the west side at this time anyways.
Just a follow up, if I may.
Well, Dave has a comment and then we can do the follow up.
Yeah, Dave, sorry.
Just on that, I mean, Bai asked Jim and I both to go out there with him, and we walked the property. The one thing I must add that on the east side, the side that Jim's talking about, if there is gravel of any amount on our property, it wouldn't be worth us going in and extracting it. So what Bai is proposing is they would, with our permission, they would permit with the ministry the entire site, including our property, and then we would work with them to extract what we own. And get rid of the setbacks between the two properties. So I think that's a win-win situation with regard to that. And I was amazed at the timbers on the property that are available to us. Some very nice trees in there. But again, Jim walked the whole property from front to back. So this has been a good investment.
Okay. The only other follow-up I have, and I guess this might not be able to be answered, but I think it should be put on the table since this is preliminary. If they're opening up that property for aggregate and it's next to the Wilder Lake, I would assume there's going to be a hydrological report being so close to another. There's nothing like that.
They'll have to do every report,
study of management.
everything. Okay. Birds and bees and bats and trees and yeah. Ecology.
Okay. That's awesome. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Barbara?
Additional question through you to Dave or Jim. The timbers, just to clarify, it's not because we have a climate action plan and we don't want to clear cut that. That would be a healthy harvest. Just for the public record that this isn't intended to clear cut the property. It was only it would be a healthy harvest, which would then encourage more growth and a better forest and better habitat for everyone. And I think that was it. There was a second question, but it has now escaped me, so I will pass it back.
Okay, thank you. And I've had the same problem with escaping questions.
I
Go
remember.
ahead, Barb. Yeah.
Sorry. I had to mute myself to remember. The tenant that is on, that has the ability for seasonal occupancy, are they going to be affected in any way with the haul route proposed, or are they in another area of that property?
Go ahead, Jim.
Where they kind of, if you want to call it hang out, is more towards the north end. This dissects probably this road proposal probably halfway back, maybe 2/3 or so. And they have a trail system for their ATVs or snowmobiles that wind through, but we're a little ways out from going through this process. There's a lot of SVCA to go through and some culverts to be installed. So we do have a term with those seasonal residents, and that term could be pretty much over by the time that, you know, all the wheels got on the carts here to make it happen. So, but
Awesome.
definitely they'll be informed and kept if we're moving forward of what the plan of attack is. So.
Right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Not seeing anything further, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Brian, if you're listening, you can, there you are. Next, we have a motion moved by Michael, seconded by Jim, and that's the Dundalk Meadows East phase, phase 11, site alteration. Anything you wanted to add to that, Dave?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what we're doing here. This is a standard site alteration agreement, and the securities have been calculated, posted, and the work has been approved by Triton.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Barbara?
Through you to Dave, the haul route, are they just moving the soil around and then importing a layer of gravel aggregate, and the haul route for that importation of material, if any, will the quantity require that soil, the fill bylaw to be satisfied, or is the report from Triton addressing all of those concerns?
Yeah, as long as they bring in granular materials, which they are, they will be exempt from the fill bylaw under the site. The site alteration takes care of that piece.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is anyone opposed to this motion? And that is carried. And next up, you have 10.4.4, the bylaw to go with that, moved by Barbara, seconded by Jim. Any discussion on the bylaw? Okay, hearing none. Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote for bylaw 2022-080, the Flato Dundalk Meadows Phase 11 site alteration agreement. Mayor Woodbury?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen?
In favor.
Councillor Rice?
Yes.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Thank you. Next, 10.4.5, and that is the Southgate Plateau Green Eco Park Phase 2. And that would be moved by Martin and seconded by Michael. Do you want to add anything to that, Dave?
Just, I think the report speaks for itself. The one thing we've done is rather than have two agreements under our lawyer's advice, we've put the two agreements together. So there's a purchase and sale agreement and a schedule within the purchase and sale agreement that acts as the development agreement. And that was developed from the MOU that we've been working with. And now that it's built into the agreement as a actual schedule, they tie together much better. And we've addressed all, I think, the loose ends in regard to the MTO connection, hydro servicing, servicing through natural gas, the communications, whether that's Bell or other internet service providers, telephone systems. So I think we've got all the, let's say, ducks in a row in relation to that, plus the development of the property and an opportunity for us to work out, because not all everything is really done until we get a survey, set the land's balance of the acreage, and then decide from ecological studies and environmental studies, there may be one composite storm pond that would be more efficient and better for climate change and so on. So those things are to be worked out, but this agreement, I think, cooperatively allows those things to migrate and happen as we work through the process.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Barbara.
For you to Dave, if the sale closes in 180 days, by entering into it now, does that resolve any lame duck issue?
No, because this will direct the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreement. The lawyers may change the closing date based on, and I would say it's highly likely that the closing date will change, but that's something they can do cooperatively, you know, based on the survey getting done sooner or not, based on decisions being made in reports and so on. So that's once this is approved by bylaw on June 15th, which I'm proposing to give it some period of time. And then once that closing date is, you know, approved by council, again, that flexibility is with the lawyers to close and work cooperatively together.
Sorry, follow up. I'm not quite sure
Okay,
that.
Then Brian. Okay, so go ahead, Barb.
So how do we address lame duck?
Well, being approved on June 15th by bylaw, the deal is complete. Then it's just a matter, yes, the deal that, okay.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Brian.
Thank you, John. Dave, this agreement, of course, talks to the road that's going to be built through there. I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that the road will not be built in from the highway potentially and stopped at, say, the roundabout or something like that. The road will be built in its entirety right off the hop, because that's imperative, I think, to get a lot of this truck traffic off of the main street coming through Dundalk. So I'm hopeful that that's not going to happen, that the road's only going to come in a short way to accommodate development of, you know, whatever Flatow's going to put out near the highway. I would hope this road gets built in its entirety right off the hop. So please tell me that's going to happen.
That will happen. We're not going to come partway and then pause for a year or two. It will come off the highway, be constructed off the highway. The traffic circle created, there'll be a butt heading north from the traffic circle, and then we will head then east to the tracks and connect up with the existing Eco Parkway. It may take 2 years, and there may be seasonal construction related to it, but I mean, it's a matter of servicing and with water, sewers, all the other services, and there will be a pumping station built into this thing too. That's another project, however.
So the agreement provides that the entire road gets built before they start doing development off the road.
Has to be.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments?
Michael here. Jason.
Yeah, go. Okay, Michael, then Jason.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we talked about that road so it doesn't intersect with the houses being built on both sides of it that it's going to go through. Is that still the plan to keep it out of the residential area?
The plan is that there would be commercial on the east side of what we'll call the service road and the traffic circle between the highway and the road that comes off Highway 10. Then where the road goes east and west towards the tracks. On the south side of the road, we're likely looking at Storm Pond area and industrial. And on the north side of the road, along or across the road, let's call it, from the commercial, would be residential. And then at the back of that would be industrial next to the tracks. So that there's that buffer. The residential would have access to more of that commercial area and future transit that might go by, and that they could, live and have access to other services close by. But the industrial would be at the back of the property and on the south side of the road.
Okay. Jason.
Yeah, no, just wanted to, Brian actually asked my question. What I was thinking the same thing. Now, Dave, is it actually in this agreement that the road will be built before the development starts? Because I kind of the same way as Brian, that road should be in before that. So is that in the agreement? And as far as their portion that they're paying for, how is that going to be released? Just some at a time, or are they just going to give us a rough estimate of the price of the road and cut us a check? Or just curious, but I'd like to see that in the agreement that road is there before the development starts.
Yes. So the road has to be built and all the servicing in before they can start construction, because they can't get any heavy equipment in without the road, like cement trucks and all that sort of stuff. We may get into like just like I brought today, there's a site alteration agreement. There'd have to be a site alteration agreement come in to start the residential or the commercial. So we won't approve it. Council wouldn't approve it until that road is in. And we can't get equipment in without the roadway. So the roadway is paramount. To talk to the other question, that was about payment. There'll be payment certificates that will be delivered or provided with, and I'll review the agreement and just make sure that we could add a condition in there if it's not already in. But there should be progress payments that we'll have to make to the contractor, and it would be at that point that they would also make a contribution on a 50-50 basis.
Okay. Is that good, Jason?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was the same as Brian's concern. Like, yeah, I know all about getting trucks and stuff in there, but a lot of stuff can happen, and I just want to make sure this road is the priority to get going, I would say. And do we have an estimate time when we're going to get going on this?
Well, I think if it was a perfect world, the end of this year, but I'm not sure whether tendering and that's going to, because everybody's so busy. We'd like to start the end of this year and definitely next year, if not. The plan is to have it completed by the end of 2023, but we'll see.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks. Yep.
Good. Yep. Good. Any further questions or comments? Martin.
Thank you, John. Dave, with all these maps showing all the lot sizes and what have you, I know this is mainly for the infrastructure and the sediment ponds and all the drainage. This won't affect any discussions about what type of housing on those lots? Like, would that affect the drainage and what have you, or anything like that? So there's still open discussion for what he's putting in after the fact.
For sure. Yeah. We're a long way from that. He'll need a subdivision agreement if it's housing. And between now and then, as well as I, the Affordable Housing Committee is going to be pushing us to, put some quotas on this stuff, price point stuff and affordable and all that.
Yep. Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm not seeing any further hands up, so I will call the question. Is anyone opposed to this motion? And that is carried. I got to tell you that this is something that going forward, I think is such a huge thing for the municipality, and having that road in there and room for businesses and, well, just everything to go with it. So jobs a whole bit. So this is huge. Thanks, Dave. Lindsay, you have a report here. It is moved by Jim, seconded by Jason, and it's the terms of reference for the Affordable and Attainable Housing Advisory Committee. That's a long name. So anything you'd like to add to it?
Through you, Mayor Woodbury, not really. It's in the report there. It's pretty simple. The committee wanted to add these 4 principles that I've listed in the report to the terms of reference. So I'm just bringing that forward for an amendment, and they hope that council supports that and we get it amended.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Brian, and then Barb.
Thank you, John. The question is regarding the first proposed additional principle, and everyone has the rights to have a home. The question that comes to mind is, who is granting these rights? I'm not sure who to ask. Lindsay?
And I might pivot to Dave or to the chair of our committee there, Councillor Shipston, pardon me.
Yep, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, Brian, I think there were more in the discussions when this was wanted to be put in. I think that's one of those things that perhaps just comes down from the United Nations and a lot of global. It's seen as, you know, fresh water is supposed to be a right, all that kind of, and housing is. I think that was just a piggyback on something that's in the United charters that are out of the United Nations. So it was just something to put in, and a home, because it's affordable housing. I think the home denotes that it's semi-detached, single, but somebody's home's, you know, it could be as a bachelor pad. A home is what you make of it. And I think that was just put in there as a principle.
Right. And if I might, Mr. Mayor,
sure, go ahead.
I think, you know, you could read a lot of things into that statement, but I'm wondering if maybe an amendment to it that says something to the effect everyone has the rights to have access to a home. And I don't want to get into wordsmithing here, but I mean, just to say you have a right to a home, that's pretty broad. And like I said, you can read a lot of things into that.
That's true.
But I think everyone has the right to have access to a home, whether you can afford it, that home or another size home or whatever the description is. I think you have the right to have access to a home. But anyway, that I'm splitting hairs here, I suppose. But as long as everybody understands that these are just principles and they're not rights bestowed by the township, because
yeah, well, as I said, it was there are principles put out by the United, you know, Nations charters and all other. So
well, and perhaps maybe reference to the United Nations might be helpful there to say that, you know, these are principles endorsed by the United Nations or something to that effect.
And the Canadian
yeah, I'm just a little cautious. That's all. That's all.
Point
taken.
Dave has a comment too.
Well, I'm glad Lindsay referred that to the chair, because I was going to do the same. And this is how difficult a conversation this is. I mean, really what that first point's saying is, bottom line is we want to not have homelessness. So I think we are splitting hairs a bit. That I think, you know, we can refine this as we go forward. This is a start. I'm not sure it's a finish, but you know, I think it's a focus that we need to continue our thoughts in creating homes. Changing policies to create homes, you know, really take a harder look at tiny homes. But this is just a way to all encompass the problems we have. And again, like we said in our presentation there last week, is let's stop talking about it, let's get something done. And I think the reason that the committee wants us into the terms of reference is that we push that focus of let's get some things done in relation to policy.
Yep. As I said, they're principles. They're not policies.
Okay. Barbara.
Through you. I had some concerns similar to Deputy Mayor Milne. His term adding access to a residence or a home or whatever you want to call it, free of, discrimination type feel-good statements. But once you actually state everyone has a right to have a home, someone will take that literally and demand that they have a home. And I don't think we as a township can promise that. We obviously are going to make every effort by creating a variety and diversity of housing options. I think everyone has the right to access to shelter or to, it's just, you're opening up, yeah, it's great. United Nations can say that from a distance, but once we put it in a resolution, someone will come back and say, even the township says I have a right to have a home. The other thing that I had recently learned is that the province isn't there yet in providing the tools to municipalities to demand subsidized or affordable housing or a specific percentage. The number 4, I agree with the principle that we want to strive to have a variety of housing. That all housing projects shall strive to include a mix of housing options. To get into the weeds and specifics and percentages, I'm not sure the province is there yet. Developers don't have to do it. And when you start demanding specific percentages, we're in a good space right now because we have a developer who is cooperative and wants to provide those options. But I'm having trouble with the 4 feel-good principles in stating that it's something that we can even do.
Go ahead, Dave.
So again, I think we're getting maybe too deep into these. I mean, we need to look at these 4 principles together. I think people do have a right to a home, or we can say access to a home, but at the same time, they've got a responsibility to earn that right as well by doing the things they need to do in life to support that goal. And I think if we take 1 and 4, and we need to talk about them all, because kinds and size of houses to make it so that we can have homes for people. But the last one being, and I think I'm not going to say we should dump onto the province. They need to, yeah, we could use more policy and more help, but we have subdivision agreements that we can say thou shalt, because a lot of things we see on the committee is there, and I think we presented it in some of our, well, it's even in our official plan, that 30% of someone's income should be geared towards supporting housing. So I think some of those policies, and maybe, putting quotas on back-to-back rentals or back-to-back affordable homes that consume smaller amounts of land. I think getting those options there and making sure that rental projects are also in place along with purchases, and maybe not saying, hey, we need smaller homes. We don't need some of these monsters that are being built. We need some 1,000 square foot, 1,200 square foot homes. Or if we're going to build larger homes, that they must have a secondary apartment and proper legal access to get into them. So, and the other thing we see as we travel too is, some people are building these commercial industrial type, small business entrepreneurial type projects. And maybe we need to allow people to properly build a second story apartment for themselves to work up or live upstairs and work downstairs, so that, you know, we again create more affordability. But these are, again, these are principles we need to put our thinking caps on and yes, massage the principles, but work with the principles as guidance as we go forward. And I think that's what the committee is looking for. I think Martin agrees with that, this is not a short-term action. This is a long-term action, year in, year out for some time, to create this housing that is much in demand.
Okay. Go ahead, Barb. Yep.
So I still have, I agree that the principles are fair. I think we should make sure that we check with legal, because Dave, when you start stating that we can demand that a certain percentage of a type of housing in a development could have negative consequences. I believe that a feel-good statement that all housing projects would strive to include a mix of housing options, including but not limited to those. I have a problem with the wording, and yeah, I'm supportive of them. Don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that we can legally, at this point in time, without negative consequence, pursue demanding the types of housing that we're looking for.
Okay. I'm just thinking on the first issue of everyone has a right to a home. Maybe if that was worded slightly different, of everyone deserves a place to live. Would that cover what we're trying to say with that, without getting into a whole bunch of rights and things? Brian?
Thank you, John. I'm wondering if we should refer this back to the committee for more discussion, for us to presuppose what the committee wants. I think if we or the clerk can make the committee well, Martin's the chair. The committee is aware, once the committee becomes aware of our concerns, maybe they'll have some more discussion, let the committee massage the principles a little better so that council can then fully support it.
Yep.
I think, as Barb suggested, I think we can all agree that we support the objective of attainable and affordable housing, but we don't want to find ourselves in a quagmire of legal and undesired consequences. So I'm going to make a motion, Madam Clerk, if I might, to refer this back to the committee for further consideration.
And it looks like Barb just seconded it.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that because I don't want to speak for all the other 6 committee members. So yeah, we'll talk about it. Or Dave has a hand up. I like the access part to the housing. So what are your thoughts, Dave?
Well, through the chair, I agree that I think we can easily do more discussion, but as I've heard the conversation just in the last few minutes, I mean, deserves the right to a place to live. That works too, but I think what I'm going to do is shove this back up to the county and talk to their planning department about what they think. And also they've got legal counsel on their dime, because this is not just a Southgate issue. This is a countywide issue, and get some direction from legal on, you know, this whole myriad of what does the present statement number 1 say? What does the present statement number 1 say if we say access? What does it say if we just say that everyone has a right to or deserves a place to live? Maybe those softer things. I think it all gets the same meaning, but you know, it's the connotations that come with it. People may misinterpret. And let's see about you know, all this and how much we can and cannot demand. We'll let them do it on the legal dime at the county for now.
Yep. Go ahead, Martin.
And the question of what we can or cannot demand, when you go back, whenever the developer put in his proposal for the zoning orders, at the very first page, it said the provinces, thinking back now, I don't have it in front of me, but it said the province is doing zoning orders to provide this, provide that, provide this, and to assure affordable and attainable housing. So quite frankly, we gave them permission for a zoning order, so we have some kind of hold of what we're going to put into the housing development because we gave them that right to move ahead quicker. So I think we can say, yeah, 10%. Thank you very much. Because we're not going to get 30. What is the attainable?
Yeah.
That's only going to happen down in the cities where you can build up, do the density. We might have density at the Dundalk Corner Highway 10 in 15 years. But, you know, if we gave them the right to get a zoning order and that actually in their report saying, yes, the province wants this and we'll abide by that, we'll give you a certain figure. Well, I think by God, it's our property, it's township property.
Yep.
We're helping them. Everybody's scratching each other's backs. I think we could say, yeah, 10%, please. 15%, maybe throw up an apartment building.
Martin?
So I think we do have a demand. Yeah.
Martin? Yep, just a point of order with that is we're just discussing the referral right now, referring it back to the committee. Is there any other discussion on referring it back to the committee? Barbara?
Just to Dave's comment, I think it's a great idea to check with county planning and legal. They may have insight that they can share. And as you know, to other points, I don't believe those MZOs included. The province was unable to include those in the MZOs. That was out of their, that was the feedback that came back from the province that was not permitted in the MZO. That's just, we're fortunate to have a developer that wants to work with us. I agree with Dave, check with the county. I think they'll be able to provide you some really good insight.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion that Brian put forth to refer it back?
Jason here, John, if I could.
Yep, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, no, I'm glad Brian and Barb brought that up. I was thinking the same thing. I support the deferral. It seems, when it's like Barb said, when it's wrote down there, we're going to have people coming back on us, I think. I'm sorry. So I just, yeah, no, I'd like to get this deferred and, you know, check with the county and stuff. And, you know, if the province isn't mandating stuff, I'm not sure. I'd like to see it deferred, and they almost look like a rule rather than a principle to me there. So just a comment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, I will call the question. Is anyone opposed to the referral? Seeing none, that is carried. So we need to do nothing more with that, Lindsay? Nope, okay. We have Kayla's reports, and then we'll take a break and come back with Clinton's. Okay, moved by Martin, seconded by Barbara, and this is the disconnect from work policy. We always figured we disconnected from work very well. If after you'd had a couple of days off, you went back and couldn't remember the combo from the door for the door to get in. That was always a good sign that you disconnected. But Kayla, I'll let you discuss this.
Thank you. We did not make any changes from the draft that was brought forward at the last meeting. This is just the final copy.
Okay, thank you. Questions or discussion? Barbara.
So disconnecting from work, as we discussed at the last meeting, is what we're striving to achieve and a feel-good goal, but it's obvious from certain members who are here while away or on vacation, or that they can take, they have discretion as to how they manage that disconnecting from work. So I do appreciate the policy and will support it.
Okay, thank you. Not seeing any further hands up, I'll call the question. Is anyone opposed to this motion? That is carried. And then we have the bylaw to go with it. And that is moved by Jim, seconded by Jason. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, we'll give Lindsay a turn to ask everyone a question.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called bylaw 2022-079 to adopt the disconnect from work policy. Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury,
Yes.
Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Councillor Frew,
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen,
In favor.
Councillor Shearson.
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Now let's us disconnect from work for a few minutes. Do you want 5 or 10? Anyone have preference? Okay, let's take it. 5's good? Okay, let's take 5 minutes. So just after 10:30, 10:31, and we'll be back then. Thanks, everyone. Jason, are you there?
Yep, no, I'm here. I couldn't hear anybody, or maybe, yeah.
Yep. No, it's nobody's saying anything, so just checking to see if
Oh,
everyone's
okay.
here.
I was actually
Okay.
just going to check. Yep.
Yep. Michael?
I'm here.
Okay, great. And that would make all of council. Let's see if Clint's here. Or Lindsay. There's Lindsay.
Dave went to the ice machine.
Yeah. Must be, the breakfast buffet must still be on there or something too.
Yep.
Yep, so we're just waiting on Clint for this, and no, we are not. He is right there. So I'll call the meeting back to order. And we have 10.7.1. And that's moved by Barbara, seconded by Michael. And that's Mars Bros. Construction. Anything you want to add to this, Clint?
Just that this was the one we just had the public meeting for this morning. Because we had to do the second one, we tried to speed it up for them just so that it was still able to get things like the site plan and everything addressed so they can start building this year. So you heard it all this morning. There's no additional comments from the agencies, so I think we're good.
Okay, Brian.
I just love to hear Clint say that statement. We're trying to speed it up for them. Good work, my friend.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Okay, is anyone opposed to this motion? That is carried. So Lindsay, you're on notice. You're going to be doing something in a minute here. Next, we have moved by Barbara, seconded by Michael, and that's the zoning bylaw amendment to go with. Oh no, sorry, my Brian and Jim is the bylaw. Sorry, to go with that. Any discussion on the bylaw? Seeing none, there you go, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote for bylaw 2022-070, the zoning bylaw amendment for Marbros Construction. Councillor Frew,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen, Councillor Shipston,
It's in favor, sorry. Pushed the wrong button.
Councillor Shearston,
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury.
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have motion moved by Michael, seconded by Martin, and that's NM Attachments, Inc. Anything on this one, Clint?
No.
I love those long comments. Any questions or comments from council? Okay, seeing none, is anyone opposed to the motion? And that is carried. Next, we have the bylaw to go with it, moved by Jason, seconded by Michael. Any discussion on the bylaw? And that is carried. Oh no, I can't do that because I didn't ask a question and Lindsay has to do this. So go ahead, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called for bylaw 2022-036, the site plan agreement for NM Attachments, Inc. Councillor Dobreen,
In favor.
Councillor Shearson,
Yes.
Councillor Frew,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Mayor Woodbury,
Yes.
Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston.
Yes.
By vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Okay, thank you. Next, moved by Martin, seconded by Jim, and it's Alan Martin entered into a site plan amending agreement. Anything on this one, Clint?
This may be familiar to council. We just had it at council, the zoning last session to approve the amendment, and now we're just amending the site plan agreement to shift the zoned area and create some indoor storage for this business. So again, we just want to see them get up and running as quick as we can.
Wow. Since Brian complimented you on that comment, you start to wear it out. And we like it. So any questions from council or comments? Seeing none, is anyone opposed to this motion? That is carried. And next we have moved by Barbara, seconded by Martin, the bylaw to go with it. Any discussion on the bylaw? There you go, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called for bylaw 2022-069, the site plan amending agreement for Alan and Nancy Martin. Councillor Rice,
Yes.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Mayor Woodbury,
Yes.
Councillor Shearson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Councillor Dobreen,
In favor.
Councillor Frew.
Yes.
By a vote of 7-0, that's carried.
Great. Barbara, go ahead.
Mayor Woodbury, I'd like to make a point of order for a notice of reconsideration of 10.4.5 CAO 2022-024, the sale agreement for the Eco Park lands.
Okay. So, Lindsay, how do we go about this?
So as long as Councillor Dobreen was on the prevailing side, so she can bring that forward. I believe she can elaborate and then we'll go from there.
I was.
Okay.
It's a question that before the bylaw comes back for us to approve, or if, I think it's not till June 15th. In Schedule 1, it came up in my my notes, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it sooner. In Schedule 1 of the attachment, the agreement, it indicates that the deposit is to be deposited of the $1 million is to be deposited into a non-interest bearing account. But then it goes on, if the sale doesn't go through at no fault to the buyer, it is returned to the buyer with interest. And as interest rates are going up, I have a concern about that, and maybe it's supposed to say without interest. And I think it's important that this be addressed.
Okay. So, Lindsay?
Dave, are you there?
Yes, I am. And I'm just scurrying to pull out. Can you just give that to me again? Schedule?
Yes, Schedule 1, which is the beginning of the agreement attachment. And I apologize, notice of reconsideration has to be done within the same meeting that it was passed, and I thought I'd better address it quickly.
I don't think it's Section 1, not Schedule 1. There's only
Sorry,
CIP.
section 1. My apologies.
Okay.
Wrong term.
And I'll circle back with the lawyer, but my understanding is that there is no interest on either ends. So I'll circle back with him because that was something he brought up. They do not have an interest-bearing account. And so I wouldn't see how any way there'd be interest. Is it in section 1? Is it, and I missed some of the discussion, 1A?
Yes, through you, Mayor Woodbury, to Dave. 1A, the $1 million is to be held in a non-interest bearing account. And the very last line says, through no fault of the buyer, if the sale doesn't go through, the deposit shall be returned to the buyer with interest.
Yeah, and I think it should be saying without interest and no deductions. So
Yeah.
I'll circle back there. Thank you for that catch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so since this was passed, Lindsay, how do we do this?
So Councillor Green brought forward the motion to reconsider, so we would technically, that Dave's report back on the table, so we have to vote on it again.
Okay, and
Mayor Woodbury?
Yep, go ahead, Barb.
I think we also have to vote on the reconsideration, but since we haven't passed the bylaw, if I'm supportive of the agreement, provided that we are addressing that concern, which Dave has already indicated he would. So I'm wondering if I need my reconsideration and another vote.
That's what I was gonna elaborate and say if
And I could withdraw.
I kind of impressed. I see Dave has his hand up. So.
Go.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Dave.
Jason brought up a really good point as well. So I'm going to investigate with the lawyer that kind of a clause and as well that issue. So I think as direction to staff, you will need to see those corrections as you believe they need to be made in the bylaw version.
So through the mayor to Lindsay and to Dave, is our conversation sufficient direction, or do you want that as a resolution? Thank you.
I think we're good. If you want to withdraw your consideration.
I do. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to raise that.
Yep, that's good. Thank you. Okay. Now I'll go back to, I don't have anything here for bylaws and motions or notice of motions. Are there any other notices of motion? Okay. And next we go to the 13.1, the regular consent, regular business and consent items, moved by Jason, seconded by Jim. And I was notified that 13.1.1 may be pulled depending on discussion. So Barb, what did you want to do with that? Do you want to pull that now, or do you want to leave it in with this?
I think at any rate, whether my notice of motion needs to be reworded or not, I think it's worthy to pull because if we receive it for information, no further action is going to be taken.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury.
You'd like it pulled? I
would. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, no problem. So the motion then is for all the other items in 13.1. And I'm not seeing anybody asking to pull any of the others, so I'll ask for discussion. Okay, then I'll call the question on 13.1. Is anyone opposed to that motion? And that would be carried. So Barb, if you'd like to go with what
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. So I guess I need some advice on point of order. Do I need to put the motion on the table, or can we have the discussion first?
You would have to put the motion on the table.
Okay, and then discussion. Thank you. Through council, be it resolved that council receives staff report CBO 2022-007 Full Throttle Speedway as information, and whereas the business owner has given every indication he is open to seeking reasonable solution to address neighbors' concerns, Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to continue to monitor the impacts of operations against existing noise and other bylaws, and that staff be directed to continue discussion with the business owner regarding operating hours, and that staff report back to council with a revised operating agreement for council consideration at a future meeting.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Jim Frew has his hand up, Mayor
Oh,
Woodbury.
Jim? Okay, yep, Jim. Couldn't see you over there. Yep. So we have a seconder. So Barb, go ahead with any discussion you have. Start.
Just some things that I observed from looking at the owner's website, and as a result, we also heard from a resident this morning at Open Forum, which touched on some of the things that I wanted to raise. The agreement has been a long-standing agreement, and we need to address the failure to register that on title, or to ensure that it had been registered on title. The race days were limited, and now, according to the website and to our speaker this morning, they are operating potentially 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, with varying degrees. And I feel that we need to continue the dialogue and find out if there is a cooperative measure that we could enter into a new agreement, and subsequently, once we reach that agreement, hopefully that satisfies some of the residents' concerns and can move us forward in good stead, so that if the ownership changes going down the road, we don't have to keep doing this council term after council term. And I understand that the way the resolution was worded in the original report, that CBO Fisher has done what he set out to do, barring any direction to staff. This just stops here.
Okay. Comments or questions from the rest of council? Brian, and then Martin.
Thank you, John. Notwithstanding the fact that the motion recommended that you receive it for information, bylaw enforcement does not stop just because we've looked at it today. Bylaw enforcement continues on, and I can appreciate the concerns of the community around the speedway, but I think we need to be just a little bit cautious or cognizant of the fact that the gentleman that bought the speedway, and I don't know the man, I've never met him or his family, but he bought the speedway knowing what the rules were or what the rules weren't. For the council now, and he has indicated, from what we've seen in the report, he has indicated that he's willing to work with the community, and he has changed a number of things, as indicated both by the report and the delegation this morning. But I think we have to be a little bit cautious that we're not getting too directive to a private business on private property. I'm a little hesitant to put too much of a thumb on this gentleman's business, because he bought the business knowing, as I said, knowing what the rules were or weren't. And so I think he has shown or has demonstrated that he will work with the community, and I think we should honor that or take that at face value. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the motion or the motion of notice on the floor, but I just think we need to be a little bit cautious of the road we're heading down here. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Martin?
Yeah, thanks, John. The only thing that really sticks out about this whole situation, I tend to agree with Brian. How much of a thumb do we want to put down? But I've never met the man either, and I used to go to Varney with the boys and the family, and sounds like things have changed. But I think was it Angela Lawton this morning? I think that's right. She mentioned schedules. I think if we talk anything about this, it would be just helping the owner and the people there form some kind of schedule and see what kind of races he has, because other than that, he seems to be doing everything he can to be a good business owner in the community. So that's just my comment.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council?
Jason here, John. Good.
Go ahead, Jason, and then Barbara.
I'm just going to echo Martin and Brian's comment. I understand the residents' concerns, but even she seemed like that the guy was trying to work with her and seemed pretty confident he would. So I don't know. I don't like putting our thumb down on him too hard either. I think if we just kind of, it seems like the kind of guy that if we work with, he's going to work with us, and he's keeping a good business going in our area and an attraction. So I think we don't want to push too hard on him either.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
I wouldn't mind going last if there's any other council members that wish to speak so that I can follow up.
Okay. I'm not seeing anyone else right at the moment. I would like to comment because I have met with the gentleman twice now and talked to him, and he's very cooperative and very good. I would think that this to try and do an agreement right now and do things, I think this is a little heavy-handed at this point. I think that he will work with us. I would hate to lose the ground that we've already gained, and there's nothing stopping that from going backwards. There's no agreements or anything, and I would like to get things settled out more and just work with him on the basis we have without this direction. He has conceded quite a bit, and he's got a lot of property there that he wants to do things with, and he will be coming to council. So I think the cooperative spot that we're in right now with him is very good. So that's just my 2 cents on it. If there's no one else that would like to comment, then we'll turn it over to Barb again.
Thank you. So I understand your point, and maybe CBO Bev Fisher would like to weigh in on this, but barring any direction today, there will be no further involvement of our staff in negotiating any cooperative measure as to operating hours. It stops here. Yes, bylaw enforcement will continue based on complaints. We have assurance from Bev Fisher that bylaw will continue to monitor and check in on campgrounds and all of those other things, and noise bylaws, but without direction to at least further the discussion with the business owner. He opened the door. He indicated he was receptive to finding reasonable solutions. I feel that it is in our best interest to have those discussions continue to see if we can find a reasonable compromise to the hours of operation. And in future that, and yes, Mayor Woodbury, you indicate that he has plans for his property, and those will have to come back for rezoning or for whatever those options are. But I think we need to start the discussion as far as operating hours and see if there is any additional compromise that could be obtained. If we do not support direction to staff, then there will be no further discussion with the operator. Thank you. Oh, and just to remind council that this business, while it does bring in taxes, is one business. There is no restaurant within short driving distance. The gas stations are in neighboring municipalities. So the commerce that it might be bringing, the tourism it might be bringing to Southgate is not benefiting Southgate other than this one property's taxation. And I believe we owe it to the residents, the additional houses that have grown there over the last 40 to 50 years and have managed to, the previous business owners have managed to honor the agreement, regardless of whether it was registered on title. I feel we'll be letting the whole process fall through the cracks yet again if we don't provide some form of direction. Thank you, Council, for your indulgence.
Okay. I'm not seeing any further comments. So we'll go to the vote. Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Okay, Lindsay, I'm going to get you to do a recorded vote, please.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. The recorded vote called on consent item 13.1.1, full throttle speedway bylaw enforcement report, and the motion from Councillor Dobreen. Deputy Mayor Milne?
Nay.
Mayor Woodbury? Mayor Woodbury? I'm not hearing you, Mayor Woodbury. You? Okay. Still not hearing you, Mayor Woodbury.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, am I there now?
Yeah, you're there now. So your vote, please, Mayor Woodbury.
Yeah, it's a no, sorry.
Okay, Councillor Shearson?
No.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen?
Yes.
Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor Shipston?
Yes.
By a vote of 4 to 3, that has failed.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll need a motion to receive the report for information. So do I have a mover and seconder for that? Martin and Brian. Any discussion, further discussion on that motion to receive for information? Seeing none, is anyone opposed?
I'm opposed and would like a recorded vote, please.
Okay. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote called on item 13.1.1, the full throttle motor speedway to receive as information. Councillor Shipston?
No.
Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor Dobreen?
No.
Deputy Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Mayor Woodbury?
Yes.
Councillor Shearson?
Yes.
Councillor Frew?
Yes.
By a vote of 4 to 3, that has carried.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a motion moved by Michael, seconded by Barb, and that's the correspondence. And I had nothing pulled from that. Any discussion on the correspondence items? Okay, seeing none. Anyone opposed? Nope, that is carried. Next, moved by Martin, seconded by Jason, resolutions from other municipalities, and I had nothing pulled on that either. Any discussion? Okay. Is anyone opposed to that motion? That is carried. Next, closed session stuff, we had none there.
Sorry,
For the,
Mayor
yeah,
Woodbury.
go ahead.
I couldn't get my microphone off mute. My apologies.
Okay.
I did want to ask about the Town of Blue Mountains 13.3.1 physician recruitment correspondence.
Yep.
And what is the status of physician recruitment for Dundalk, and should we be looking at all avenues in collaboration with this organization?
With the CHC doing the build and all the things that are happening there, the recruitment for Dundalk, they've handled it all, and they're getting sufficient for all the funding they have. They've got all this. They've got sufficient between doctors and nurse practitioners. So I'm not sure if this would assist in any way. I don't know about for over in the West End, if there would be any information from this that would help. I don't know, Brian, are you involved in any of the doctor recruiting over that way? Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, the doctor recruitment committee over there is handled by staff for the 3 hospitals that are put together there. There's Groves and Fergus, there's Mount Forest and Palmerston, of course. And the doctor recruitment committee over there continues. They put a lot of emphasis on retention as well, and that's an important piece that we don't want to lose sight of. But it's a challenge everywhere, as I'm sure we all recognize. But in the West End, at least, I know in Mount Forest, they have a full complement of doctors at this time.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, no problems. On to the county report, and I wasn't there this last meeting. I had to take Linda down to hospitals and things, so I don't want to put Brian or Barb on the spot, but if one of you would like to give us a few words.
I'll let Councillor DeBreen speak to the motion because she was there on behalf of the mayor. So.
Okay, and it's always good to speak first because then you can do that.
Right.
Go ahead, Barb.
So this is a test.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Woodbury and Deputy Mayor Milne. The county was approved a number of committee minutes. The committee as a whole supported a draft expropriation process that just clarifies on how they would acquire land to, widen a road and a ditch, and how expropriation is regulated by the Expropriations Act. So they're looking further at that. Exciting news was Grey County is going to be entering into a pilot program on some new technology that called Iris Go. It's a new technology that helps to assess the condition of roads and road signs. It does the automatic redacting of private information. They gave a demonstration, which was quite impressive. And so they're going to enter into that as a bias-free input, which can also feed asset management. And then there was some discussion about the delegations at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in Ottawa this summer. There's a long list of items, so that was a good discussion. And I guess the highlight of the meeting and the privilege that I felt was that I was at the meeting, the last meeting that Heather Morrison presided over as she retires after 32 years of service with the county. It was a bit emotional for a number of people, and it was nice to be part of sending her off. Thank you.
Okay.
Well done,
Yeah.
Councillor DeBreen. The only other thing I would add, Mr. Mayor, if I might, is the pilot project that the roads department are doing. There may be an opportunity down the road to collaborate with the lower tiers. So
Maybe.
We'll wait and see what the pilot brings, and I think it's an exciting project, as Councilor Jabrina indicated. So we'll see what it brings. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. And Heather will definitely be missed there, but filling her shoes or her desk or whatever is Tara Warder, and she's that was a really good move, putting her in place. She will do a wonderful job, I'm sure.
Excellent choice.
Okay, members, thanks for that, Barb and Brian. Members privilege. Anyone have anything they want to bring up? I just want to continue to tell people to get involved with any of these events that are going around through the township and actually neighboring. Just let's get everybody back at things, and the organizations that are running all of these events really need the support. So I would encourage that. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's just a broad comment regarding the upcoming, in a month from now, will be Canada Day. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I probably do. If someone could cast an eye on all the flags that the township currently flies, please make sure that they're not frayed, ripped, torn, faded, and make sure that we've got presentable flags in all of our flagpoles, particularly the Canadian flag. It's pretty important to me, and I think to a lot of other people, that we display good quality flags. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else with good news and celebration? Barbara?
Exciting. Next Wednesday, the Farmers Market returns to Memorial Park, the Pavilion in Dundalk. And from my understanding, Terry Murphy, our Economic Development Officer, is working with the Farmers Market Manager, and they're going gangbusters on activities and attractions. Looking forward to being there.
Yep, apparently music and all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah. Anyone else have anything? Okay, so we will move on then to closed session. And I have moved by Michael, seconded by Martin. Be it resolved, the council proceed into closed session at 11:10 in order to address matters relating to proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege. And the subject is the potential sale of a road allowance. Staff update, and that's staff report CL 2022-018C, and that Public Works Manager Jim Ellis, Planner Clint Stredwick, and Clerk Lindsay Green, and CAO Dave Milner remain in attendance. Hi, Lindsay.
Can I just add Treasurer William Gott to also remain in attendance?
Yes, you can. So that's in there too.
Thank
you. Anyone, any discussion on that?
Has Mayor Woodbury, has Councillor Frew left before the vote?
Don't think so. He's just, are you there, Jim? No, you're not hearing Jim, and his camera has gone.
Still have
I'll
quorum.
just mark absent. He didn't move or second the motion, so.
Yep, we're good. So is anyone opposed to that motion? And that is carried, so I will see you over there shortly.
Michael here. Is anybody there?
Yeah, we're here. Sorry, Councillor
Okay.
Shearson would have responded.
I answered you, but it was my turn to speak while my mic was on mute. So that's probably why you didn't hear me.
Just
I think we
waiting
should
for
actually I think we should actually follow up with $5 and then donate it to a charity. And we could probably give some good money out for Christmas bonus.
Yeah, but Martin's name would have to go to the top of the list or the signatures.
I don't mind. I've got a bit of coin I can give to a charity. It's okay.
There we go. So we're just waiting for Jason, I guess.
Yeah, we just don't have Jason, but we do have quorum, so
We have quorum. Well, he can catch up as we go. We have the motion to receive a report and as information, and all we discussed in closed was that report. Do I have a mover and seconder to receive it for information?
I'll move it, Michael.
Michael and Jim. Okay, any further discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Now is the motion to confirming bylaw. Barb and Michael. Any discussion on the confirming bylaw? Seeing none, Lindsay, you can do the vote.
Thank you, Mayor Woodbury. Recorded vote on the confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Mayor Woodbury,
Yes.
Councillor Dobreen,
In favor.
Councillor Rice is absent. Councillor Shearson,
Yes.
Councillor Frew, Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
by a vote of 6-0, that's carried.
Okay, thank you. And now we have the motion moved by Brian that we adjourn. So thank you, everybody. And I think we got a lot covered, and have a good weekend whenever it starts.
Yeah.
Take care, all.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Bye.
Bye.